everyone! So it is that time of year to be counting down the top 5 shows that I've watched in 2021. I've already done a top 10 books of 2021 video, and now we will be doing a show one. I don't typically watch a ton of TV shows, but that has really changed this year for some reason. I've seen a lot more than I usually have, and they've all been really great, and I loved all of them, so it was very difficult to rank them. They're all very drastically different, so that was kind of a factor. So before I get into it though, I actually just want to make a quick announcement. I don't have the community tab on my channel because I don't have a certain amount of subscribers yet. So until I have that community tab, I will be doing all of my announcements in the About section on my channel. So this is like if I miss a week, then I'll let you guys know ahead of time and it'll be in the bottom of that section. Alright, now we're going to be jumping into the shows. So coming in at number 5 is Schitt Creek. This show is about a rich family who suddenly becomes poor overnight, and now they are forced to live in the town that they once bought as a joke. This show was incredibly popular a couple of years ago when it was airing, and I heard my parents always watching it and always laughing at it, and then they recommended it to me earlier this year, and I was like, why not? So I gave it a try, and I actually really liked it. I will say, though, that it was a little bit slow in the first 3 seasons. Like, I felt like I was really trudging along until season 4. When Patrick was introduced, that is when the show got so much better, and after that, like, I just sped through it so fast. This show is so funny, and there really are so many great characters, and if I were to go back and watch the first episode with these characters versus the last episode with them, you would notice this world of difference. The actors are all amazing too. I also really love the use of the effortless representation in the show. I will say though, like I was kind of saying earlier, the reason why this is at number 5 is because I did have a really hard time getting into it. I feel like if I were to go back and rewatch the show, I might get through it a little bit faster, but definitely on the first watch, I was considering stopping a couple of times in season 1 because it just didn't really feel like my clique. But I still really loved this show. It's also a really great show for anyone that just needs a laugh in their lives and a reminder that family will always be there for you, especially around the holiday season that we're currently in right now. So coming in at number 4 is a very different show from the last show I just talked about, and that is Monsters at Work. This is the Pixar show spin-off to Monsters, Inc. This show follows a monster named Tyler who graduated top in his class at Monsters University and intends to become a scarer whenever he gets to Monsters, Inc. However, whenever he gets there, he realizes that Monsters, Inc. has completely switched over to Laugh Power, and now he is stuck working in the Myth office, which is like the janitor office, as he learns to become a jokester. This show was something that I knew I wanted to watch like the minute it came out, but I actually did not get around to watching it until a couple of weeks ago. It really is such a cute show though, and if you love Monsters, Inc., I highly recommend this show. Mike and Sully come back in it, and like every single scene they are in is just the highlight of the show to me. Like, I love their dynamic. And just a quick side note, does anyone ship Mike and Sully? Because I do. I've been shipping them for a really long time, and I feel like no one really ships them, so please let me know if you do. Like, I just have this headcanon that they are raising Boo together as a family, and like, this show just kind of further confirmed that headcanon for me whenever they were babysitting that one child in one of the episodes. I really love how overall in this show we got to see the events of what happened after Monsters, Inc., because if you think about it, the switch from scare power to laugh power is such this drastic switch, and they're going to have to change their entire education system now. Like, I feel really bad for Tyler because he did nothing wrong. He was a great student. It wasn't his fault that Monsters, Inc. just all of a sudden switched their ideals and now they're going from scare power to laugh power. So while the new characters were really great, they were definitely a little bit like slow at first, and I didn't really click with them right away. And yeah, later on I started watching the show for the new characters, but it really just started out for Mike and Sully, and that kind of is the reason why it's lower down on the list. I highly recommend this show for anyone that loved Monsters, Inc. and wants to see a little bit more of the Monsters world. So coming in at number 3, this is a very different show from the show I just described, and that is Squid Game. This is a show about a group of people, all of which are deep in debt. One day, our main character gets offered a chance to get out of his debt by participating in a bunch of childhood games. However, he does not know that these childhood games have deadly consequences. This show was all the rage a couple of months ago, and I actually avoided it for 2 reasons. One, I knew that this show was really violent, and I didn't know if I can stomach it. And 2, the hype. The hype around this show was so intense that I was worried about getting into it. but I can safely say after watching it that it does deserve the hype. This show has so many twists and turns, and despite waiting 2 months to watch it, I did not see any of these twists and turns coming. I also really love, though, how this show kind of has this undertone of just how far humans will go for money. We see in the show that the characters essentially kill each other or be killed, all in the hopes of getting money just so they can get out of debt. Typically, we don't go to that extent in the real world, but it really shows like an exaggerated view of just how much greed is kind of in the human nature. One downside about this show is I feel like every time they did not have a game going on and it was just a bunch of talking and like working things out, that kind of fell flat for me. I didn't really enjoy that part of the show. I felt like it was kind of boring. You know, I watched this show to see games, not to see them talk. Another downside about this show is I don't really love how they kind of sign away their lives in the contract before they actually know the whole extent. I feel like that was very morally wrong, and I know eventually they do learn that they're signing away their lives, but they should have known what they were getting themselves into from the start. Overall, it was a really, really great show, and I highly recommend, but do not watch if you are in any way sensitive to violence, because it is a very, very violent show, and I'm honestly surprised that I got through the whole thing. But I don't regret it, because it was also really good. So coming in at number 2 is Shadow and Bone. This is an adaptation of Leigh Bardugo's books, The Shadow and Bone trilogy and the Six of Crows duology. This show follows an ordinary girl named Alina, who one day discovers that she has the power to summon light. This gets the attention of the Darkling that intends to help her come into these powers so they can defeat this dark barrier that is separating Ravka, their country, into two. Meanwhile, the Crows are a gang in Ketterdam, which is a whole nother country, and they are tasked to kidnap the Sun Summoner. This show was very accurate to the books in the Shadow and Bone part. The Six of Crows part is completely separate from the books. It is actually a prequel to Shadow and Bone, so I was a little bit skeptical going in how that would work. However, it was so good, and one of the things I loved about the Six of Crows storyline was that I did not know any of the schemes that Kaz and crew would be up to, because he was doing brand new schemes and brand new tricks. I also really love how all the actors portrayed every single character. The show is casted so well, and on top of that, all of the relationships are also so well portrayed in this show too. Although, I'm sorry, but I will still never ship Alina and the Darkling. I know a lot of people do, but I just find it really toxic, and I can never ship them. It was still a really great show, and I highly recommend, even if you have not read the books. And coming in at number 1 is Young Royals. This is a show about the Prince of Sweden named Wilhelm. One day he gets in trouble with the press and is sent to a boarding school where he has to learn to clean up his act to become a better royal. While at this school, he meets a commoner boy named Simone and slowly starts to discover more about himself as they start to develop feelings for one another. This show is absolutely incredible. I've probably rewatched it about 5 times since it came out in July. The cast is amazing. All the characters are amazing. The plot is incredible. I learned throughout the years that I'm actually kind of into like secret romance when it comes to someone being royal and the other person not being royal. So like this show just like right up my alley the minute that I started it. And if you like the book Red, White, and Royal Blue, I highly recommend this show because they do have a lot of similarities. I could just gush about this show for hours, but I'm not going to do that because of course I don't want to waste your time. And I highly recommend this for anyone who loves secret romance, who loves drama, who just loves these great characters. The actors are actually the same age as the characters in this show too, which is something that you almost never see in teenage shows, which is another reason why this show is just so great. I cannot wait for season 2 next year, and I just love this show so much. Like, it is definitely number 1. I can't not put it at this level. So those were all of my favorite shows this year. Please let me know what your favorite shows were this year. I would love to know. And I hope that you have a great rest of your holiday season and a happy new year, and I will see you next year. Have a great day, everyone. Bye!